Look at it. The perfect picture. Manicured lawns, quiet streets, the gentle rhythm of a sprinkler. This is the American dream, sold to us as a sanctuary, a safe harbor from the chaos of the world. But the truth is, safety is an illusion. The real monsters aren't hiding in dark forests or abandoned asylums. They're behind the vinyl siding and the freshly painted doors. They're the friendly neighbor who waves every morning. They're the secrets buried under the new flower beds. Tonight, we're not going to a haunted house. We're going next door. We're peeling back the veneer of suburbia to uncover the rot beneath, with 3 disturbing, true stories that prove the most terrifying place you can be is home. Welcome. What you just saw is the promise of suburbia. What you're about to hear is the reality that sometimes festers just beneath the surface. These aren't campfire tales or works of fiction. These are documented events rooted in fact that happen to real people in neighborhoods that look just like yours. Our first story takes us to a quiet, affluent town where a family's dream home turned into a living nightmare, all because of a series of letters from someone who was always watching. In the early 2010s, a family, we'll call them the Martins, poured their life savings into a beautiful, sprawling home on a street named Ellison Drive. It was everything they wanted: great schools, friendly neighbors, and a big backyard for their 3 young children. They were ecstatic. They closed the deal, and before they had even moved a single box in, the first letter arrived. It was in a plain white envelope, addressed simply to the new owner. There was no return address. Inside, the note was typed. It started friendly enough, welcoming them to the neighborhood. But the tone shifted, and it shifted fast. The letter writer claimed their family had been watching this house for generations. The writer referred to the house as my charge and my obsession. Then came the line that turned their blood to ice. It read, "I see you have children. I have seen them. The house is craving young blood. Who am I? I'm the watcher." The Martins were, of course, deeply disturbed. They called the police, who advised them not to tell their new neighbors, as any one of them could be the suspect. The family tried to dismiss it as a twisted prank from a jealous person who lost a bidding war for the house. They moved in, trying to remain optimistic. But a second letter arrived a couple of weeks later. This one was more specific. It mentioned their children by their nicknames. It described the type of car they drove. It even mentioned one of the kids using a specific easel by a window. The writer asked, "Have you found what is in the walls yet?" The paranoia became suffocating. Every passing car, every neighborly wave, every creak of the old house felt like a threat. The police were stumped. They investigated, but with no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA on the letters, they had nothing. The watcher was a ghost. This case became a terrifying example of true unexplained phenomena right in the heart of suburbia. The letters kept coming, each one more personal and more menacing. The writer claimed to know things they couldn't possibly know unless they were either inside the house or had it under constant, invasive surveillance. The family stopped letting their children play in the yard. They installed alarms and cameras. They slept in shifts. Their dream home had become their prison. The psychological toll was immense. The Martins were living in a state of perpetual fear. After just 6 months, they put the house back on the market. They couldn't live there anymore. In their public statements, they explained they had to flee, unable to guarantee their children's safety. The story became local, then national news. But even with all the attention, the watcher was never identified. The house eventually sold, and as far as public knowledge goes, the letters have stopped. But the question that haunts everyone who hears this story remains. Who was the watcher? Were they a neighbor, a former resident, or something else? The case remains open, and the identity of the person who terrorized a family with nothing but a typewriter and a mailbox is still a complete, chilling mystery. Sometimes, the horror isn't an outside threat. Sometimes you move in right on top of it. Our second story is a chilling reminder that you never truly know the history of the 4 walls you sleep within. This is one of those true, creepy stories that sounds like it was ripped from a horror movie, but it happened in a quiet Ohio subdivision in the late 1990s. We'll call it The Secret in the Basement. A young couple, Mark and Sarah, bought their first home. It was a modest, split-level house built in the 70s. It needed some work, but it was theirs. The previous owner was an elderly man who had passed away, and his children sold the house as is. As Mark and Sarah began their renovations, they started in the basement, which was partially finished with cheap wood paneling. One afternoon, while tearing down a section of paneling to check for mold, Mark's crowbar hit something that wasn't drywall or a stud. It was solid metal. Puzzled, he tore away more of the paneling and discovered a small, steel door about the size of a safe deposit box, seamlessly integrated into the concrete foundation. It had a heavy-duty latch, but no lock. It wasn't on the blueprints. The seller's kids had never mentioned it. Driven by curiosity, they managed to pry the rusted latch open. Inside was a small, dark cavity. Using a flashlight, Mark pulled out a dusty metal box. It was an old ammunition can. Inside, they didn't find money or old documents. They found dozens of cassette tapes. Each tape was neatly labeled with a date and a woman's name. The dates spanned from 1978 to 1992. They own an old cassette player, so they nervously put one in. The audio quality was poor, filled with static. But beneath it, they could hear a man's calm voice and a woman's voice crying. The man was asking questions. "Did you tell anyone you were coming here? Does your family know where you are?" The woman's replies were muffled by sobs. It was an interrogation. They tried another tape. Different woman's name, different date, same chilling scenario. Horrified, they immediately called the police. An investigation was launched, and it uncovered a deeply disturbing truth. The elderly man who had owned the house, a man his neighbors described as a quiet, church-going widower, was a predator. Using the tapes and cross-referencing old missing persons reports from the surrounding counties, police were able to link the recordings to at least 3 women who had disappeared without a trace years earlier. The man had been using his quiet, unassuming suburban home as a hunting ground, luring women there, recording their final, terrified moments, and then disposing of them. The bodies were never found. The man had taken his secrets to the grave, and the only evidence of his monstrous double life was hidden behind a paneled wall, waiting for the new owners to find it. Mark and Sarah sold the house. They couldn't stand to live in a place with such a dark and silent history. Our final story is perhaps the most unsettling, because it's not about a single stalker or a hidden secret. It's about an entire community that became infected by something they couldn't see, hear, or explain. It shows how fragile the social fabric of a neighborhood truly is. These kinds of events are the epitome of suburban horror stories, where the threat is shared and there is nowhere to run. This took place in the mid-2000s in a newly constructed housing development in Central Florida. Let's call the community Willow Creek. It was a pristine, almost sterile environment. Every house looked the same. Every lawn was perfectly green. It was designed for comfort and conformity. For the first year, it was exactly that. Then the hum began. It started subtly. A few residents reported a low-frequency humming sound that would start every night, almost precisely at 2:15 a.m. It was faint, a deep thrumming that you felt in your chest more than you heard with your ears. Most people dismissed it as an air conditioner, or pool pumps, or electrical transformers. But more and more people started noticing it. It was loudest indoors, and no one could pinpoint the source. Then came the second stage, the behavioral changes. Pets became frantic at night. Dogs would bark at blank walls, and cats would hide and refuse to come out. Then, the residents themselves started to change. People reported chronic insomnia, intense and vivid nightmares that were eerily similar. Many dreamed of walking through an endless, empty version of their own neighborhood. During the day, the once friendly community grew tense. Neighbors became suspicious and irritable. Arguments broke out over petty things like garbage replacement. A palpable sense of paranoia descended over Willow Creek. A group of residents, led by a retired engineer, decided to investigate. They used sophisticated audio equipment to try and locate the source of the hum. They found nothing. It seemed to have no origin point. It was just everywhere. The power company came out, the city came out, no one could find a source. The hum was real, people were recording it, but its origin was a complete mystery. The situation peaked one summer night when, in 3 separate houses on the same block, every television simultaneously turned on at 2:15 a.m. They all tuned to a dead channel, displaying nothing but white static. This mass event caused a panic. Several families packed up and left within a week, selling their homes at a significant loss. They described a feeling of being pushed out by an unseen force. To this day, there is no official explanation for what happened at Willow Creek. Some speculate it was a case of mass hysteria, a psychological phenomenon born from the stress of a new, uniform environment. Others believe it was some kind of unrecorded environmental or technological event, perhaps infrasound from a source miles away that was uniquely amplified by the geology and architecture of the development. Whatever the cause, it turned a suburban paradise into a place of dread and effectively dismantled a community from the inside out, leaving behind a chilling tale of a neighborhood that was haunted not by a ghost, but by a sound. 3 neighborhoods, 3 different kinds of terror. A watcher in the window, a monster in the basement, and a phantom frequency in the air. These stories remind us that the mundane can become monstrous in a heartbeat. The real horror is not knowing what secrets your own neighborhood holds. So tonight, when you lock your doors, maybe ask yourself, what's happening on your street while you sleep? Thank you for joining us in the shadows. If these stories chilled you, please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the darkness. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a new tale. Stay safe out there, or at least try to.